Okay, so today we're doing the 5 questions with Alec Drew, who is the founder of the vBON. Um, when I Google Alec, it tells me that Alec founded the vBON. The network was launched in March 2020 to combat the isolation of business owners during the COVID pandemic, serving as a platform for weekly meetings, knowledge exchange, and relationship building outside of traditional sales conversions. And so now I'm going to ask Alec 5 questions, and hopefully he's going to give us some great answers. So the first question is, uh, as someone who has been in business across 4 sectors for more than 40 years, what is the biggest lesson you've learned?
It came later than I would have hoped for, and that was the value of an outside-in look on your business, a mentor. And what we tend to perceive is that we can't afford them, and yet they are available through the local enterprise offices, through many other different ways. And for we were in business, Nick and myself, and it was in 1996 came across Plato, which was a European initiative, and it was costing about 2,000 for the year. But really, what it did, it was transformative in how it made us look at the business and also to get a perspective from other people within it. I ran a similar program for the local enterprise office. Amit was part of that, and I'm sure he can attest to the effectiveness of it. That where you've got like-minded people who are there to support each other and also able to help solve problems that also you might have issues with. It's a very sort of lonely place to be in business on your own, and you definitely need outside in help, because if you get that, you'll be surprised that you will get a multiple of return, and everybody can afford it, believe it or not. It's not as expensive as you think.
Good, thank you. What are the 3 most common mistakes business owners make?
I would find, certainly from the mentoring perspective, the most common one to starting is failure to delegate. And really what you find is that small operators want to do everything themselves, and that mindset continues on right through business. I've seen companies with 20, 30 people and the CEO actually down in the weeds doing all of the things, failure to get away from the cold face. I think it's so important that if you're on your own, let's say, so let's talk about delegation on your own, that you employ the right sort of professionals around you, the right accountants, the right solicitors, the right HR, and pay the money, because the whole idea is you don't have the skill set to do it. So why try to do it yourself and make a hames of it? What you do is hopefully go out and earn the money through the business to pay for the right skills. And the more you can afford to pay, the better, hopefully, that the level of skills that you will get are. Number two is, it never ceases to amaze me how so many business operators don't actually know their costs. And when I'm talking about costs, if you take it on 2 points, number one, let's talk about somebody who's supplying goods as opposed to services. There's a friend of mine operates a business, and he supplies 30,000 meals a day into schools, right? And if you're just to take this, um, the importance of knowing your costs. If you were to, on average, put an extra 5 grams of food on every plate, the difference you'd have is about 150 kilos of food every day. And over 365 days, it's about 55,000 kilos of food at a fiver. That's more than €250,000 you could be losing. So it's very important to understand exactly how much everything is costing, and particularly if you're in large numbers like that, because small changes can make such a significant difference to the actual cost of running the business. In terms of those like ourselves who are mainly professional services, is to actually understand what it is you're trying to earn, what it costs to do things. Realistically, and I won't go through all the numbers because I've done this before, if you take a 365-day year, there's approximately about 1,300 hours of chargeable time, because that we're now excluding the cost to run the business, as in all the various elements that make that up, and I've done videos on that before. But if you take, you have 1,300 hours, if you want to earn 100,000 a year, and I'm going to give broad figures here because I have accountants looking at me and will correct me, you want to get 90 to 100,000 net out of your business. You'd need to be selling all 1,300 hours at 100 quid an hour. You're not going to do it realistically. Even if you got a sale of 2/3 of that, and you'd be doing well, now you're moving that up to another level of 160, 170 quid an hour. And you're kind of going, wow, I'd never get that sort of money. Now, we don't charge per hour, we charge for our knowledge and skills. But I think it's worthwhile understanding is start from the far end. What am I looking to take home net? How many hours have I got available? And then to divide it in. Remember that you are an employee of yourself. And I know we can all work weekends and work all sorts of extraordinary hours. But even if you start on the most basics of understanding what your costs really are, yeah, sure, if you want to give away the extra time, do it. But just be conscious of that time. And I suppose the final one is failure to understand what networking is really about. Again, I've spoken about this and happy to run a session on it too. Networking really is about building relationships. It's not about selling. And unfortunately, it's been diluted so badly by even by organizations that are supposed to be networking organizations. They fail to understand really what networking is. Networking starts with giving, and it starts with building relationships. The vBON is a networking organization, and yet you see that there's no overt selling allowed on it, which is great. It means people don't feel under pressure. However, we do know from the figures and talking to various people that there's at least 1.5 million has been done in business over the last 3 years in the background. So networking is a very valuable part of running a business. But if you don't know actually how it works, then you're missing out on one major sort of trick.
Thank you. Question 3. Why is it important to have processes and have them written down?
Right. Again, most of us are sort of sole traders, or maybe some of us have employees. Processes give you the opportunity to examine your business and see how you're actually running it. If you actually write down what you're doing, because most people have processes in their head. I come across business owners who run sizable businesses, and often I find that they have the processes in their head. When you write it down, you have an opportunity to examine it and see what's right and what's wrong, and then to continually correct it and make it right. If you streamline the business, you'd be surprised at the efficiency you can drive. Your perception that you know how the business runs in your head is all fine and well, but it's only when you actually start writing down the processes and seeing them in actual and operation, and then making corrective decisions around those, that you will get real efficiency and productivity. Um, if you have ambitions to move outside and create an even bigger business, and if we look at something major, a great example for me on processes would be McDonald's. Let's put it this way. You open up a restaurant, you iron out all of the problems, you get it down to a fine art, and then you can just replicate it as many times as you like. And that's all it is. Processes just drive efficiency and will help you drive your business in a more clear way.
Question 4. Why is it important to engage with the customer client accounts department?
Denise will understand this, and Raymond and the accountants particularly. What I found over the years is this. We end up dealing with accounts departments on 2 levels. One, either A, as somebody who wants to collect money from them, or B, somebody who owes money to them. Unfortunately for accounts departments, they're sad, lonely people. They find themselves isolated and not getting too much interaction with the outside world. They're either chasing money or trying to stave people off from paying them. And all they have to do is handle paperwork. And it becomes a sort of monotonous and hard to build a relationship. What I found made a significant difference was that I would make it my business anytime I had a customer, was to get introduced to who I'd be dealing with in the accounts department. And for 2 reasons. Number one is, if we're going to be invoicing them, I would need to know what their systems are, what their expectations are. And when you start relating to people on first name terms, you'd be surprised how friendly they can be with you. And so therefore, rather than you putting in some paperwork and finding there's something not properly ticked and expecting a payment at the end of the month, as I did at one stage and nearly had a fit in our earlier days of business, they ring you and say, listen, Alec, have you got this, or you have got that? Oh, thanks very much. Really appreciate it. And they're really good with you. So you get on first name terms with them. Equally, I found is to understand the other side of the coin. You may owe money. Let's say you owe 5 or 6 grand to a supplier, and you're short of money. Having a relationship and ringing Chris or John or Mary or whoever it is, and explaining to them that, listen, I don't have all of that. However, I can give you 1,500 this week, and I may be able to give you 1,000 next week. What to understand is this: they have to report to a credit controller. And all the credit controller wants to know is there any movement on this account? Are you engaging with them? And the fact that you engage with them, that you're not dodging calls, as so many people make the mistake of doing, don't dodge the calls because they're constantly ringing and they just get frustrated and get annoyed. And when they find that somebody is actually quite pleasant to them on the phone or is actually proactive in engaging with them, you get far more out of it and your relationship builds far better and can cover you through tough times if you happen to be going through them.
And finally, question 5. What is the importance of the mile wide, inch deep versus the inch wide, mile deep?
We all have it, and I still have it. And it's important to understand in this day and age, we all can believe that whatever we're offering, particularly from a professional services point of view, that yeah, everybody could use this. Yeah, I can sell to everybody. But the truth is, the more you analyze it, the less true it becomes. And it's a false concept that you can service everybody. I still fall for it myself. I'm going through it with the SME Business Show, and I've had to slap myself around a bit to pull myself in and narrow down the audience. The best example I saw of this was a woman in the Professional Speaking Association, and my goodness, she had her customer down to a name. Let's call her Anya, and it was mainly women she dealt with, but she had them down from age range to marital status to where they lived. I couldn't believe it, narrowed right the way down. And what she did then was she used processes. And using processes, she took them on a process from start to finish and upsold them along the way. She was virtually a one-man show and part-time working the business, but she had also used technology to support what she was doing. I'm going back now, 10 years? And she was taking a salary out of that business of 350,000 a year for working part-time. I'll tell you what, she was so impressive. And the point being, she understood you can't service everybody. So by narrowing down your audience and being really precise and who they are will make a huge difference to you. It's an exercise you should do, and even we should do it someday with one of the group here. But narrow down your audience and work out exactly who your customer is. Because when you do that, and I know Chris as part of that, of his exercise that he was doing, you will find you'll make a significant difference to the quality of work that you bring in. And I suppose that is it from me, all 5 questions, unless anybody has any other questions to ask. That's it.
Perfect.